Two great races with two unexpected winners at the 2-mile oval of Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, California, plus some major news to dive into. Let's talk about it today on The Fifth Turn. All right, everyone. How's it going? My name is CJ Ward. Welcome into The Fifth Turn. So good to have you here. Remember, as always, you can follow the show on Twitter at Fifth Turn. Also on Facebook, facebook.com/The Fifth Turn. Also, you can send an email to thefifthturn@gmail.com, and I will be sure to get back in touch with you as soon as I can. Well, here we are. I promise you this will probably be the last week that this episode is so late in the week. Pretty much from here on out, we're done with Sense and Sensibility. We're done with all of that. I should be able to watch pretty much every race from here on out and get my normal Monday schedule back up and running. Thank you all again so much for your patience throughout this whole process. I've really appreciated it, and it's good to know that people still care enough to watch these videos. So thank you. Let's go ahead and get into what we've got this week. We've got not a lot, but a few big pieces of news to dive into for this week. First and foremost, I remember last week we talked about the so-called Rowdy Challenge, which is a challenge to all Cup Series regulars to get into a truck race. One of Kyle Busch's truck races this year. Enter that race, and it's a $100,000 bonus to any Cup Series regular who can go and beat Kyle Busch in a Truck Series race. Also, I don't remember if I talked about this, but Halmar, the Halmar Friesen Racing, Stuart Friesen's team, has also issued a challenge of $50,000 to any Truck Series regular who can go out and do the same thing and beat Kyle Busch in one of these Truck Series races. We have a couple of so-called bounty hunters entering this challenge. Chase Elliott will drive the GMS 24 at Atlanta and Kansas, and Kyle Larson will drive it at Miami. And also, it was announced that former team owners Billy Blue and James Finch are teaming up to field Eric Jones in a truck also at Miami. So it'll be interesting to see if any of these guys can go out and beat Rowdy. And I was watching a fellow NASCAR YouTuber. Go subscribe to The Iceberg on YouTube. Great content over there. And one of the things that he was talking about was just the overall opinion of the so-called leeches in the lower series. And so often we think it's either a all leeches rule or just a Kyle Busch rule. And one of the things that he was saying was that it's somewhere in the middle. It's not. It basically has to do with people who are sort of punching downwards, and people who are just going down into the lower series to race with the little kids and win down there, and also just the fact that Kyle Busch is already a pretty hated NASCAR driver. You go watch his video; he does a much better job of explaining it than I do. I'll put the link to that video in the description. But yeah, so it's going to be interesting, obviously, because it's Chase Elliott who's doing it first. And he's the most popular driver in NASCAR. Obviously, fans are rejoicing over that, while also complaining about Kyle Busch winning in the truck every week. So it's NASCAR fans are confusing and sometimes self-contradictory, and also NASCAR Twitter is ugly. But yeah, so exciting stuff there. Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, and Eric Jones running the Rowdy Challenge and entering as bounty hunters for that. Also, it was announced on Wednesday that Tony Stewart will come out of retirement and drive a Stewart-Haas Racing Xfinity car for the Brickyard Road Course. Obviously, the July 4th weekend race at Indianapolis in the Xfinity Series is going to be run on the Indy Road Course this year, and Tony Stewart decided that he wanted a little bit of that action, and so he's going to come out of retirement and drive one of his own Xfinity cars for that race, which should be a lot of fun. Obviously, Tony Stewart, one of the greatest ever, and it should be really fun to see him come back and run that race. Also, big news also announced on Wednesday that Speed Weeks, Daytona Speed Weeks, beginning next year, will condense into just 1 week. And it's basically just going to be every day that week there's something happening. The Clash and Daytona 500 qualifying and the duels and the truck race, and then a doubleheader on Saturday with Xfinity and ARCA, and then the Daytona 500 on Sunday. That'll be a lot of fun, but the biggest change to this whole thing is that the Clash, the Busch Clash, is going to be run on the Daytona Roval, which should be a lot of fun. There's been a lot of people asking for this for a long time, and it's going to be a lot of fun to see how that goes down. One of the biggest things with this is that will still be in the 2020 Gen 6 car. NASCAR basically thought, we won't run the next gen car for this race just because if it ends up being a wreck fest, obviously we don't want everybody to tear up their brand new stuff just for an exhibition race. So I like that call. So we will the Busch Clash will be the last time we will see the Gen 6 car in action. What I wanted to spend the most time getting into in the news section of this episode is the announcement that the Gen 7 car, and this has been rumored for a long time, but the Gen 7 car will feature single lug nut wheels. Now, as I said earlier, NASCAR Twitter is nasty and a terrible place to be, and people have been up in arms about this. Personally, I'm going to get some flack for this. I see nothing at all wrong with this. Nothing. Here's my reasoning for this. There's a whole bunch of other racing series that do this, that run single lug nut wheels. This is having to only change one lug nut instead of 5 per tire will make pit stops quicker, easier, and safer without eliminating any athletic ability on the part of the pit crew members. We will finally be rid of those pesky lug nut penalties that are always dished out at the end of a race. And so there's a lot of ups to this. I saw a tweet about this, and if you follow the show on Twitter, you'll see my response to this. But I saw a tweet from a person saying that this takes away, quote, a core pillar of stock car racing. Yeah, right. Don't give me that. Don't pretend for even a second that having 5 lug nuts on a wheel is a core pillar of stock car racing. That's baloney. That is absolute baloney. Racing is not about how many lug nuts are on a wheel. That has so little to do with anything. That's just ridiculous. Truthfully, the only reason that people are mad about this is tradition. Now, nostalgia is valid. That's a valid reason, but this really won't change hardly anything. I think the only thing that this is really going to affect is the time that it takes to fuel the car. That's probably the only real thing that this is going to have an impact on. So I don't really see anything being at all changed from this. Really the only reason that people are upset about this is the tradition. And again, I get that, but I don't think it's really going to change anything. Like I said, racing is not about how many lug nuts are on the wheel. So, and truthfully, the reason that they did this was the new aluminum wheel that they're going to be using, the new 18-inch wheel that they're going to be using for the next-gen car starting next year. It was something to the effect of that wheel couldn't handle 5 lug nuts, and it was just a sturdier choice to go with for this wheel was to do a single lug nut. So I don't think it's really going to affect too much, but there you go. New rule for 2021, single lug nut wheels on the Gen 7 car. So you got my opinion on it. Don't think it's going to be that big of a deal, but let me know what you think about it in the comments down below. That's all the news that I've got for you. So let's go ahead and dive into the racing action, starting with the Xfinity Series. All right, so the NASCAR Xfinity Series at Fontana Auto Club Speedway. Honestly, this was one heck of a race. Both races, truthfully, in the Xfinity Series and in the Cup Series. Two really solid races. It was really good, and two very unexpected winners, which I will get to. So here's what we got. So the front row for this race was Brandon Jones in the 19 and Harrison Burton in the 20, teammates at Joe Gibbs Racing. Fanning out immediately on the start of this race, both this race and the Cup Series. Just huge fan outs immediately. It was pretty good commentary because the guest broadcasters in the booth for this race were Joey Logano and Chad Canals. And so they had some good things to say, as you'd expect. We saw Brandon Jones pretty much dominate stage one, led every single lap, I think. But Chase Briscoe in the 98 was closing in fast in the closing laps. But the 93 of Myatt Snyder, he's obviously been driving the 21 for Richard Childress the last couple of weeks. When he's not in there, he's driving the 93 for Ryan Sieg. And he got stuck in the middle of those two leaders and cost the 98 a ton of time. Brandon Jones wins the stage after leading every single lap of stage one. Ross Chastain, real solid top 5 run. A lot of other surprises up there. As I alluded to before, big time fan out on the restarts. 3-4 wide immediately. And Jones was still dominant. I think he led every single lap of this stage as well. Win stage 2. Stage 2 was pretty tame. But stage 3, things got exciting. Daniel Hemrick in the 8 for Junior Motorsports was running really well. He was having a good solid top 5, top 10 day all day long. Harrison Burton got himself out to the lead. The rookie, first time he's ever been here. He got himself out to the lead. We had a caution for a flat tire on the 11 of Justin Haley. He spun right onto pit road, brought out the yellow. Then a little bit later, we had a crash. The 1 of Michael Annett made contact with the 02 of Brett Moffitt. Those two got together and collected the 68 of Brandon Brown and the 08 of Joe Graff Jr. The 98 of Chase Briscoe running really well up front all day long, but he was way loose. Back end was sliding out all over the place on that car. We had a spin for the 5 of Matt Mills. He made contact with the 13 car and spun around. If he hadn't have locked up the brakes, he probably would have missed the wall. But he stayed on the brakes and got into the fence a little bit. Made contact with the inside wall. We had another crash. I can tell you what, Noah Gragson is not making very many friends out there this year. He won at Daytona and then has been causing a storm ever since. And he took out a couple of good cars in this race. He made a bold move, tried to slide up in front of the 10 of Ross Chastain. Wasn't even remotely clear. Wrecked himself on Chastain's bumper. Took a big chunk out of the 10 as well, and bumped the 22 of Austin Cindric in the process. So big contact on 3 really good cars. Noah Gragson just ended up wrecking himself after making a dumb move. The restarts all day were just thrilling, as I've said again. A lot of big saves, cars sliding around and slamming into each other like crazy. Severe tire rub on the 19 of Brandon Jones. He has to come to pit road. It was looking like it was going to be the 98 of Chase Briscoe versus the 20 of Harrison Burton. But we had a debris caution, and then Burton got out to the lead on the restart after a huge slide from Chase Briscoe. Briscoe ended up spinning through the grass, had another epic restart, and at the end of the day, Harrison Burton, first career win for the rookie, who, after last year being full-time in the Truck Series for KBM, everybody started to question him a little bit because he didn't win. And truthfully, when you compare his performance in a full-time Truck Series season and a partial Xfinity schedule last year, he ran way better in the Xfinity car than he ever did in the truck. And that's translating into this year as well. First career win in just race 3 of the season. So really, really good stuff for Harrison Burton. He holds off his teammate Riley Herbst, who comes home second. I'll go ahead and run through the rest of the results. Austin Cindric third. Ryan Sieg fourth. That 39 car, some happened over the last couple of years. And, I mean, back-to-back top fives for the first time in his career. He's a real threat. He might snag a win at some point this year. That 39 car is really, really, really good. Justin Haley 5th. Anthony Alfredo 6th in the Childress 21 car. His first career Xfinity Series start, and he comes home P6. Great run for him. Daniel Hemrick 7th. Ross Chastain 8th. Jeremy Clements 9th. Solid top 10 for him. 10th is Josh Williams. You're seeing a lot of not big name drivers up here, especially not big name teams. I mean, DGM Racing for in the 92 for Josh Williams. Myatt Snyder 11th for Ryan Sieg. 12th Justin Allgaier. Alex LeBay 13th. Brett Moffitt 14th. 15th is Vinnie Miller for BJ MacLeod. Austin Hill 16th. Michael Annett 17th. Tommy Joe Martins 18th. 19th is Chase Briscoe after that late race spin. Chad Fincham 20th. David Starr 21st. Ray Black Jr. 22nd. 23rd is Robbie Lyons. 24th, BJ MacLeod. 25th, JJ Yaley. 26th is Noah Gragson. 27th is Matt Mills. 28th is Jesse Little. 29th, Josh Balicki. 30th is Brandon Jones. 31st, Joe Graff Jr. 32nd, Bailey Curry. 33rd, Brandon Brown. 34th, Kyle Weatherman. 35th, Stephen Light. And 36th is Landon Castle in the 89 for Morgan Shepherd. So yeah, really cool first career win for Harrison Burton. Joe Gibbs Racing seems to be running a lot better in the Xfinity Series than they do in the Cup Series, as I'll get to in a couple of minutes. But yeah, really cool thing for Harrison Burton, especially to have his dad a part of the not the Fox team, but the NBC broadcast team. I imagine Jeff will get to call his son to a couple of more victories this year, so that'll be very, very cool. Racing family continuing the legacy. Also, interesting fact, he follows in the footsteps of his uncle, Ward Burton, as the only 2 drivers to win an Xfinity Series race on Leap Day. So that's a pretty cool family thing there. But yeah, really good Xfinity Series race. Let's go ahead and move on to the NASCAR Cup Series. All right, the NASCAR Cup Series at Fontana. This was another really, really good race. Really good race at Fontana. One of the big stories coming into the race, obviously, was Jimmy Johnson's last home race, his final start at his home track of Auto Club Speedway. But another of the big things coming into the race was all of the tributes to Kobe Bryant that came in. Obviously, with being in California, there were several guys that ran tribute paint schemes. William Byron in the 24, obviously since Kobe Bryant wore the number 24, and then Ryan Blaney in the 12 because Kobe was a big part of body armor. Also, Daniel Suarez had special tribute shoes that he wore during this race. So those were very, very, very cool to see and paying tribute to one of the greatest basketball players of all time. The front row for this race, Clint Boyer started on the pole for the first time in about an eternity, and Jimmy Johnson qualified second. So one heck of a front row. Making big moves early in this race, went from like 10th to 4th in a lap, was Matt DiBenedetto in the 21. I think he's going to have a really solid year. I'm excited to see what he can do this year. He had a top 15 day, so really, really cool things there. 3-car battle for the lead, Clint Boyer in the 14, Alex Bowman in the 88, and Jimmy Johnson in the 48. Those were pretty much 3 cars under a blanket for a big portion of this race. Kyle Larson got into the fence pretty hard after a over-aggressive push from Denny Hamlin. These guys were able to joke about it later as Denny Hamlin put out a video on social media later that evening of them two in a grocery store, and Hamlin ran into the back of Larson with his shopping cart. So at least they were able to joke about it. Alex Bowman in the 88 managed to win stage 1. He had one of the best cars out there all day long. Early on in stage 2, Jimmy Johnson got out to the lead, led his first laps at home since 2016 when he won, and of course the crowd went wild. His wife and daughters were able to wave the green flag and start the race, which was really, really cool. So he got out to the lead, and he was having a really, really good day. Finished P7, he's gonna have a really good year. I'm excited. He's running really, really well this year. I saw a NASCAR.com article that was basically saying maybe it was the car and not the driver all along, and maybe he will get a win this year. I think he will personally, but he got out to the lead and was running there a large portion of the race. Ryan Blaney in the 12 looked really, really good. He's our point leader right now, or at least was coming into the race. He still is, yes. So our current point leader is Ryan Blaney, and he was looking really, really good. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. He's been in position to win both races this year and hasn't been able to close the deal. But he looks really, really solid. Again, 3 wide for the lead, the 88, the 48, and the 12. Really, really, really good racing this week. It looked like people were able to just get massive runs from behind. Side drafting was a big part of the race. It was a really good race. We had a caution for pole sitter Clint Boyer cutting down a tire, fanning out big time on the restart, same as they were in Xfinity, like I talked about. Ryan Blaney was able to win stage 2. In stage 3, we had some massive, massive bumps. Obviously, Auto Club is a very bumpy track, but I really noticed it watching the highlights from stage 3, especially seeing the 22 of Joe Logano. There was one point where he made a dive bomb move like from up against the wall all the way down to the apron, and you saw that car just jumping up and down across the bumps in the track. It was sketchy. Like I talked about, huge runs from behind. Tyler Reddick got himself up into the top 5 and was looking really, really solid. He ended up finishing P11, so pretty solid day for him. The 88 of Alex Bowman, just class of the field. He was looking absolutely incredible all day. Right around 15th or so, we had a massive, crazy save for William Byron in the 24. He got a bump from the 20 of Eric Jones. Looked like slight contact into the rear quarter panel. Almost spun the 24. William managed to save it. And at the end of the day, second career win, Alex Bowman. Man, it was really, really cool. He managed to hold off Kyle Busch and get his second career win. So both of his wins, he's beaten a Kyle, which I guess is a little claim to fame there. He didn't get it stuck in the grass this time, which is good. But congratulations, Alex Bowman. Man, Hendrick Motorsports is looking really, really solid this year. This new Camaro is good. It's really good, and it's a lot better than already. It seems to be a lot better than the previous one ever was. So they've put a lot of work into this new Camaro ZL1 1LE, I think is the official name of it. They put a lot of work into it, and it's a really, really solid race car. Honestly, Toyota and Joe Gibbs Racing are off just a little bit, even though Kyle Busch finished second and Truex was up front for a lot of this race. Overall, they're lacking a little bit of speed, and they might need to address that. Obviously, I know Denny Hamlin won the 500, but they're just a little bit off of everyone else on speed right now. Maybe a little too early to be a cause for concern, but it is Joe Gibbs Racing, but they won over half of the races last year, so them being just a tad off right now is a little bit worrisome if you are a Joe Gibbs Racing fan, which I am not. But yeah, so HMS looks really, really good. Jimmy Johnson looks really, really good. Honestly, I think it's a question of when, not if, he wins this year. He's just, when you look at the point standings, Jimmy Johnson is 5th. Jimmy Johnson is 5th in points right now. I'm going to run through if the playoffs were to start today, I'm going to run through the 16 guys that would be part of it. And there are some surprises up there. So I'm going to run through that in just a minute here, but let me go ahead and run through the race results. Alex Bowman takes the win. Kyle Busch 2nd, Kurt Busch 3rd, Chase Elliott 4th, Brad Keselowski 5th, Denny Hamlin 6th, Jimmy Johnson 7th, Eric Almirola 8th, Kevin Harvick 9th, 10th is Eric Jones. So 300 cars in the top 10. William Byron was just a little bit off all day, but Hendrick Motorsports really making some good gains. 11th is Tyler Reddick, 12th Joey Logano, 13th Matt DiBenedetto, Martin Truex Jr. 14th, William Byron 15th, Chris Buescher 16th, Ross Chastain 17th, filling in for Ryan Newman in the 6. Cole Custer 18th, Ryan Blaney 19th, 20th is Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 21st Kyle Larson, 22nd Michael McDowell, 23rd Clint Boyer, 24th Austin Dillon, 25th John Hunter Nemechek, 26th Ty Dillon, 27th Bubba Wallace, 28th Daniel Suarez, 29th Corey LaJoie, Ryan Preece 30th, JJ Yeley 31st, Brennan Poole is 32nd, Joey Gase is 33rd, Garrett Smithley is 34th, Quinn Houff 35th, 36th is Reed Sorensen, 37th is Timmy Hill, and 38th is Christopher Bell after losing an engine in the race. So, yeah, really, really good race. Another win on the charts for Hendrick Motorsports. It's gonna be a good year. It's gonna be a good year if like me, you're an HMS fan. Let me go ahead and run through the point standings right now. I'm gonna give you the top 16 in points. I'm not gonna worry about the playoff order. I'm just going to give you the driver standings right now, top 16. Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano, Alex Bowman, Kevin Harvick, Jimmy Johnson, Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, Matt DiBenedetto, Kyle Larson, Eric Almirola, Chris Buescher, Brad Keselowski, Martin Truex Jr., Austin Dillon, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and Clint Boyer. Now, let me read some names that I didn't say. 18th, Eric Jones. 19th, Kyle Busch. 20th, William Byron. 21st, Kurt Busch. Cole Custer, 26th. Christopher Bell, 32nd. There's a lot of names that we probably would have expected to be up front week in, week out, contending for a spot in the playoffs that are very much outside of it right now. And I mean, granted, it's race 3. It's too early to be concerned, but it's just interesting to take a look at who's where right now. So, but yeah, overall, great weekend of racing. Great Xfinity race with Harrison Burton. Great Cup race with Alex Bowman. And it's honestly, it's probably the most exciting 2-mile race I can remember in a long time. This coming weekend, we've got Phoenix, and not only do we have Phoenix, we've got the old small spoilers back, which should be really, really exciting. The first run of this, of having the 2 aero packages, obviously the 2019 aero package at 1.5 miles and bigger, and then the old style small spoiler on short tracks and road courses. For the purposes of this, they're calling Phoenix a short track, along with the other 1-mile courses. So, looking forward to that. I think it's going to be a great race. Depending on how this race goes, will determine whether or not I am excited or dreading the championship race at Phoenix in the fall. But I think it's going to be a really, really good time. That's pretty much all I've got. Really, really looking forward to Phoenix this weekend. It's going to be good. Yeah, that's pretty much going to do it for me. So thank you guys so much for watching. As always, remember you can follow the show on Twitter at Fifth Turn, also on Facebook, facebook.com/The Fifth Turn, and you can send an email to thefifthturn@gmail.com. Lord willing, I'll be able to get an episode out for you guys on Monday. So back to the regularly scheduled programming. Thank you guys for your patience. It's been crazy, but life is slowly returning to normal as you can get at college. So yes, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned next week for my Phoenix recap. It'll be fun. I'll see you guys later. Take care.